We're in legislative days, which is kind of the preparation for the big February session, and
Very busy.
very, very, very busy.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on up there. I had a really hard time finding parking,
Yes.
but I eventually did find it, and found that there's a lot of things going on up there. The minimum wage.
That will have a long hearing tonight. I'm on that committee. The Workforce Committee, Senate Workforce Committee is having a hearing from 6 until 8 tonight, and we've had many other evening hearings on the same exact subject, so I'm not sure what another 2 hours is going to grant, but I guess more people, I'm guessing more of the same people will be testifying. I'll be surprised if there aren't a lot of duplicates. But
Well, we have a Democrat minority, or majority. That concerns me, to where this is going.
well, it's interesting. It didn't pass last session, and the only reason it didn't pass is because Democrats opposed it. There were enough Democrats who opposed it, so it didn't pass. I mean, Republicans can just stand together and oppose something all day under the current makeup of the legislature, but if Democrats want it, it will move forward. So interestingly, I will add, there were Democrats that weren't jumping on board with this concept, so we'll see how this February session goes.
Do you have any thoughts?
Well, I think because there are a couple ballot measures out there, that there are many who are attempting to try to head that off and take control of it at the legislature. And so I think you might see some Democrats come on board that wouldn't necessarily. It's kind of like, for maybe segue into your next topic, legislating at, under the gun. Because you're facing this ballot measure and you don't want that, so you're just kind of like, well, I don't like it, but we might end up passing something. I could see that attitude being adopted by some of the Democrats that weren't on board with it during this last long session.
Oh, so they weren't on board with the minimum wage, now they would be on board with it, so it would pass.
Only because they're trying to head off the ballot measure.
Okay.
That's what I think.
Right.
I mean, I could be
that's
wrong.
just your thoughts, yeah. You go any day and drive down the road and go through the malls, and you see that there's a lot of businesses that are going out of business. And what this is just going to do is it's going to create a situation where businesses can't afford to pay people minimum wage as much as they would like to. We all want to see everybody succeed. But it's just going to cause more businesses to go under.
I think it'll affect some businesses a lot more than others, such as the hospitality and service industry. Those are more prone to hire minimum wage workers. Other industries like, I don't even want to get into naming it, but like manufacturing, they're usually higher wage jobs. Road construction, for instance, and you have prevailing wage there. I mean, there are certain industries that are going to be hit a lot harder. And they're showing that in the cities that have adopted the $15 an hour minimum wage, or the higher wages, whether it's 13 something or all numbers are kicking around, that the growth in those particular industries that are minimum wage heavy, the growth is either like just hugely different from the rest of the state that doesn't have that same mandate. In other words, it's a lot less growth in in those regions that have adopted that higher minimum wage.
So
compared to the rest of the state.
That's a perfect idea to show people what happens when you implement, when you force a business to do something they can't afford to do.
And not only that, they just slow down hiring. It's it's not hurting, it's hurting some businesses, but it's actually hurting the people they're aiming to help.
Right. Well, it'll hurt our business, and here's why. Because we compete with other people around the country. Unfortunately, we also compete with China. And so if Oregon adopts this mandate, I don't know. We can try to raise our prices, but if we raise our prices here in Oregon, the rest of the country, they don't have to raise their prices.
Right, and you're competing, and then you start losing the business. So you look at maybe moving to Idaho, for instance, and people in the Eastern Oregon, they're right just a few miles away from, right as it stands right now, a $2 an hour disparity between the two states as far as, that's a lot.
Right. Again, I'm sure you do too, we care about people that are struggling. I grew up single parent home, very poor, minimum wage. we struggle too. So I understand that. It's not like I'm not sympathetic, that I very much am.
Right.
Which is why I hate government regulation, because government regulation destroys lives. I mean, it's a cause of a lot of problems, not just, what we're talking about. But can you
What's so
talk about
sad
that?
is that it's often in the effort to help
Yeah,
problems.
right.
I mean, you look at where the war on poverty came in heavy in the 60s, and poverty rates have skyrocketed since then. I mean, they have, they were kind of down low, and now they're just way, just skyrocketed since that
Very much,
effort to help people. And rather than looking at, does it work, we're looking at, well, this should work.
So
Government.
is there is this, are the people, let's say in the other party, or even maybe some Republicans, do they understand that this is a problem? Is there a higher agenda that they don't care, they're being paid off? Or is it that they are really caring, but they just don't have the full information, know the full scoop?
I would rather assign positive motives to the people that are here in this building. Yeah, it's easy to get stuck in that political, they just don't care. But I don't think that's the case. I just think they believe that something ought to be this way. And this is the way you ought to get there, because this is what they did. And regardless of whether it actually did help things, they think that, well, because all these other people are doing it, we should try to do it. And one example is inclusionary zoning. Have you heard about that one? This is one where it would be a government mandate, or allowing cities to impose a requirement on developers, builders, to provide subsidized below market housing. Actually, it just creates supposedly affordable housing. But at what price? That's the question. And where it's been tried, it's not helping increase the supply of affordable housing. It's actually kind of dampening it and making the rest of the other housing that isn't the affordable housing, but like normal housing, more expensive. They're showing that is the case. There's been a Harvard study looking at all these different areas around the country that have adopted these inclusionary zoning mandates. And so what did we talk about yesterday in workforce? We talked about inclusionary zoning and allowing cities to impose that mandate on builders, whether because it should help with the supply, but it doesn't, and it's been shown not to. I don't know. It's
And so when these facts come out, what do the legislators do with it?
It just comes down to opinion, I guess.
Yeah. Does it really help when citizens go into committees and stand up? And
it does.
And it's not.
Sometimes I would say, the script's already been written, but I'd say that there have been times where citizens showing up, engaging, and speaking have at least headed off the most severe sort of regulations or mandates that would otherwise have, they may have still happened, but they weren't as bad.
Right.
Or
they
perhaps,
were considered part of the testimony.
Or perhaps even took it off the table altogether. It does happen. I really think it's important for people to show up.
Right, because usually the people that show up are the people that have an agenda. They want to lobby for their own cause, and then it mostly benefits them when it passes. Whereas you get just regular people that it doesn't really affect them one way or another. Everything affects us, but they just say, hey, we want to stop government. This isn't good for society, and here's why.
It helps. And if you can't show up in person, it does help to actually write a well thought out letter to the committee, and it does become part of the meeting materials. It's all online. Okay. It is public record. Just to warn you, keep it
clean.
Yeah, keep it clean. I don't know. We don't get very many, but sometimes you get little nasty grams from people. You're like, what the heck are you guys thinking? You so and so and blankety blank. But you don't want to do that. But just come up with your reasons why you oppose something, rather than just saying, or why you support something, rather than just saying support this bill or oppose this bill.
So
tell us why, because it helps.
Okay.
Because we don't necessarily have the same perspective that you might, in your personal life and maybe in your business or wherever you may be.
Okay.
Wherever you live. So
all these issues are real important. I think the hottest one in people's minds right now are the guns.
Oh yes.
What's going on?
It's perennial. Well, the February session, as you know, is is basically just the month of February. It's very short. It's it spills a little bit into March, but for all intents and purposes, it is a 1-month session. And it was sold to voters as a time where you're just going to be dealing with some budget issues, maybe some emergent issues that need to be dealt with that are pretty bipartisan, that end up being bipartisan, because everybody can agree, wow, this is something we need to deal with. But it, just because of the nature of timing and all that, you have in May, you have primaries, and it ends up being quite political, I would say. So, part of that political, I guess, sort of background that's happening, just naturally, because we're in a very political environment here, guns. Guns come up. And it doesn't matter whether it's a long session or a short session. There are certain issues that are going to be popping up every time. Guns is one of them. The issue of guns is one of them. And there was a legislative concept. It hasn't been put into a bill yet, but it has been drafted that would require people to make an anonymous report if they believe somebody is going to be mentally, they're mentally having some sort of situation, and that they might hurt themselves or somebody else with a gun. So that would put a hold on their ability to buy a gun without any due process, and they wouldn't find out about it until they went in to try to buy a gun. And it's anonymous. It's an anonymous report. And so, can you imagine if you are going through a nasty divorce, whatever? There's
somebody's mad at you for whatever reason,
an abusive spouse or whatever, and he makes an anonymous report to keep you from buying a gun to protect yourself from him.
There aren't too many outlets where you can hear in-depth spiritual issues alongside conservative politics, where we can make a difference to those around us and our country. It's brought to you at a cost that's worthwhile, yet I'd like to do more. On 11thhourpolitics.com, you can buy books and videos that will advance this cause. There's delicious chanterelle tea containing vitamin D, proven to dispel depression. We have an art gallery and options to produce your own commercial or have us do it for you, along with other projects. It's only through a co-op that things get accomplished. I hope you will join me in this mission.